Venturing further into the clandestine affair, the rendezvous with Alex became an intricate dance of sin and exhilaration over the ensuing months. The magnetic pull between us intensified, weaving an emotional connection that transcended the boundaries of age. However, the awareness of the potential fallout lingered, a constant reminder of the risky game we were playing. As our liaisons grew more frequent, a subtle emotional bond took root, tightening like a knot that refused to unravel. There were moments when I questioned the sanity of our actions, contemplating the consequences of betraying my friend, his mother. The illicit nature of our connection added an extra layer of complexity to the already precarious situation. Then came a turning point, a moment that would alter the course of our destinies. With Alex's mother away on a trip, he extended an audacious invitation to his house. Initially, my instincts screamed caution, warning me of the flames we were already dancing around. The idea seemed like playing with fire, a risk too great to take. In the face of my initial refusal, Alex unleashed his potent charm and persuasive prowess during a lengthy phone call. Slowly, he chipped away at my reservations, his words creating a web of temptation that proved too enticing to resist. The decision was made, a leap into the unknown that held both excitement and trepidation. Little did I know that this pivotal moment would become a catalyst for unexpected twists, steering our tale into uncharted territory. The hours leading up to that fateful rendezvous with Alex were a tumultuous swirl of conflicting emotions. Nerves, like a fluttering storm, danced through my body, casting shadows of doubt and anticipation. The mere thought of the impending meeting sent shivers down my spine, a cocktail of anxiety and excitement. As I prepared for the encounter, a heat wave of anticipation surged through me, a potent blend of desire and trepidation. Each moment leading up to our meeting felt like an eternity, punctuated by the erratic rhythm of my pounding heart. The nervous energy was palpable, manifesting in fidgeting gestures and restless glances at the clock. It was a delicate balance between the thrill of the forbidden and the fear of the unknown. Yet, beneath the surface of anxiety, a clandestine flame of excitement burned, promising an encounter that would redefine the contours of our connection. Little did I know, in those nerve-wracking hours before our clandestine meeting, that the intensity of emotions would set the stage for an evening that would leave an indelible mark on the canvas of our forbidden love. Arriving at Alex's house felt like crossing a threshold into a world where time seemed to slow, and the air carried an electric charge of anticipation. The connection between us, already palpable, gained a new depth in the privacy of his home, an intimate space that became the canvas for the unfolding chapters of our forbidden tale. The aura within those walls held a unique blend of secrecy and familiarity, heightening the senses and intensifying the unspoken tension. It was as if the very fabric of the environment conspired to amplify the clandestine nature of our connection. We began the evening with a simple dinner, the clinking of cutlery and the hushed tones creating a symphony of whispered promises. The ambience, bathed in soft, warm hues, seemed to fuel the burgeoning tension between us. The fragrant aroma of the meal and the subtle flicker of candlelight created an atmosphere where desire lingered like an unspoken truth. With each sip of wine, the night advanced, and so did the magnetic pull between us. The forbidden nature of our connection cast a spell, turning each glance into a loaded exchange, each touch into a secret language spoken in the shadows. As the evening unfolded, the conversation deepened, weaving a tapestry of shared secrets and unspoken desires. The bottle of wine became a vessel for the unraveling of inhibitions, and the tension simmered, threatening to breach the boundaries of restraint. Little did we know that this evening, bathed in the glow of subdued lights and filled with the intoxicating aura of secrecy, would become a pivotal chapter in the saga of our forbidden love. In the dim glow of the living room, a couple of bottles of wine had cast a warm haze over the atmosphere, intensifying the unspoken tension between Alex and me. The air crackled with anticipation as he guided me to the sofa, where the weight of the moment hung suspended. With each gentle touch, articles of clothing were shed, leaving behind a trail of anticipation and vulnerability. The sofa became a sanctuary for whispered desires, and as the layers of restraint fell away, a dance of passion and abandon ensued, the boundaries of reason blurred in the flickering shadows. It was a moment of connection, where time seemed to lose its grip, and the world outside ceased to exist. The thrill of the forbidden mingled with the intensity of the present, creating a symphony of emotions that echoed in the quietude of that clandestine encounter. In the midst of this dance, a maelstrom of sensations left me in a state of wild exhilaration, a whirlwind of emotions that defied the constraints of the ordinary. In the height of the intensity between Alex and me, an unexpected twist froze the room. The gentle slide of the apartment's front door opening cut through the air thick with passion, and time seemed to come to a standstill. In a moment of astonishment, reality blurred. Suspense hung in the air as, without warning, the silhouette of Alex's mother emerged in the living room. The room, once filled with the warmth of our forbidden connection, fell into a sepulchral silence. Gazes locked, and the atmosphere was charged with a tension that surpassed any prior encounter. In those brief moments, the outside world faded away, leaving only the echo of a discovered secret. Reality made a sudden, jarring entrance, and in that instant, the pulse of everyday life resumed. After moments of absolute silence, me and Alex found ourselves grappling with words that seemed to surface without a clear idea of what to say to his mother. The atmosphere hung heavy with tension, each participant navigating the aftermath of the discovered secret. The weight of the situation pressed upon my chest, making every attempted word feel like a delicate dance on the edge of a precipice. There was a desire to explain, to justify, but the words were elusive in the face of such unexpected exposure. Alex, caught between the conflicting worlds of passion and family, wore an expression torn between remorse and a desire to shield his mother from a harsh reality. The vulnerability etched across his face mirrored the silent turmoil within, a son caught in the crossfire of his choices. As for Alex's mother, her gaze held a mixture of disbelief, hurt, and a silent plea for an explanation. The room became a crucible of unspoken emotions, a tableau frozen in the aftermath of revelation. Each attempted utterance was like tiptoeing through a field of emotions. After moments that seemed to stretch into eternity, a heavy silence lingered in the room. The weight of the unspoken truth pressed down, and the air crackled with tension. Fumbling for words in the midst of the charged atmosphere, I began to dress hastily. The fabric clung awkwardly, each movement a reminder of the vulnerability exposed in those tense moments. The living room, once a haven for clandestine connection, now felt like a chamber of secrets laid bare. With every apology that escaped your lips, there was an echo of remorse and an urgency to escape the suffocating atmosphere. Each "I'm sorry" became a desperate plea for understanding, a feeble attempt to mend the ruptured fabric of the evening. As you hastily gathered my belongings, the act of fleeing took on a sense of urgency. The apartment, once a clandestine sanctuary, transformed into a maze of regrets and exposed emotions. The rhythm of my hurried footsteps resonated with the beating of your own heart, racing to outpace the weight of the truth left behind. The days that followed were consumed by sleepless nights for me. A desperate attempt to shield myself from the weight of the unfolding situation led me to block Alex, hoping against hope that it would somehow obscure the reality that had transpired. The weight of guilt and regret was a constant companion, casting a shadow over every waking moment. In a last-ditch attempt to reconcile, I tried to contact my one-time friend, Alex's mother. I sent her messages and calls with apologies in the air, but they went unanswered, echoing the growing chasm that separated us. The silence on the other end of the line reflected the unspoken emptiness that had expanded since that fateful night, leaving me suspended in a purgatory of my own making. In the ensuing weeks, the weight of shame and guilt continued to cling to me, a relentless specter that haunted my every waking moment. The fear of an inadvertent encounter with Alex or his mother loomed over me, casting a shadow of anxiety on the streets of the city that had become a silent witness to our forbidden affair. One day, unable to bear the persistent torment any longer, I made a resolute decision. The fear of facing the consequences of my actions became a catalyst for change. I chose to escape the confines of the city, seeking solace in a fresh start far from the memories that had become an inescapable prison. The decision to move to another city was a desperate bid for liberation, an attempt to outrun the shame that clung to my every step. It was a journey fueled by a yearning for redemption, a chance to rebuild my life in the anonymity of a new beginning. The city that once felt like a cage now became the launching point for a quest to leave behind the echoes of a night that had irrevocably altered the course of my existence. Now let me ask you directly, what would you have done in my shoes? How would you have navigated the complex web of emotions, guilt, and the aftermath of this forbidden love? If you find these types of stories intriguing and want more, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates me to keep creating content that captivates and resonates. I appreciate your encouragement and look forward to exploring more confessions together.
In the game of love, sometimes we get lost between what is real and what we wish it to be. I'm a woman caught at the crossroads of duty and desire, never imagined that the fire of a forbidden passion could consume everything I once held sacred. My life was always like those perfect postcards you see in magazines. Married to a successful man, 2 adorable children, a beautiful house in a prestigious neighborhood. Benjamin, my husband, was the prototype of success. Handsome, charismatic, an outstanding businessman. Our friends always told us that we were the ideal couple. But you know, behind that facade of perfection, something was missing. Benjamin was always busy, meetings, business trips, and I stayed at home, immersed in a routine that little by little was turning me off. Honey, I can't make it to dinner tonight. I have an important meeting. Benjamin used to tell me every day with an apologetic and apathetic tone on his part. Did he really love me? Was it your priority? The truth is that I was never sure of it. The Christmas holidays have arrived, and with them, a new opportunity to escape from my reality. We headed to the town where Benjamin's mother lived, a strong and sweet woman who had found a new opportunity in love after the death of her husband 5 years ago. She had met Oliver a year ago, but we had not yet had the pleasure of meeting him in person. This Christmas would be special because he was going to present it to us. The trip to town was silent, with the children playing in the back and music playing on the radio. I looked at Benjamin, who seemed deep in thought as he drove. I was intrigued to know what he was thinking about. He was always so quiet and thoughtful. Sometimes he got on my nerves. "What are you thinking, Benjamin? You seem very quiet," I asked. Benjamin looked at me out of the corner of his eye before looking back at the road. Oliver, Mom's new boyfriend. He must be quite the lady killer, always impeccable in his clothes, polite. The typical mature man that all mothers fall in love with, you know. I want to meet him personally, make sure he's a good match for her, he said, with a tone of voice of curiosity and slight concern. It's important to her, right? After everything she's been through, she deserves to be happy, I said, feeling a strange connection to her mother's longings. Yes, she deserves it. And I hope Oliver is the man she thinks he is, Benjamin responded, his voice showing a sincerity he rarely shared. When we arrived at Benjamin's mother's house, she welcomed us with overwhelming joy, spreading kisses and smiles. The warmth of his embrace made me feel immediately at home. As we settled in the living room, she rushed to tell Oliver, who was in the bathroom. "Oliver, love, they've arrived," she announced in a sing-song tone. The bathroom door opened, and Oliver appeared. His presence captured our attention instantly. He dressed elegantly, but with a casual and even youthful touch that suited him wonderfully. He wore a perfectly fitted, light-colored linen shirt that highlighted his athletic figure and chinos that complemented his relaxed but sophisticated look. On his feet were leather loafers that added an air of informal distinction. Benjamin was right. Oliver had a charisma and bearing that did not go unnoticed. His hair, lightly sprinkled with gray, gave him a distinguished look, and his smile was warm and welcoming. He could easily imagine how his natural charm made many mothers in the city pine for him. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you," Oliver said, extending a firm, warm hand toward Benjamin and then toward me. His voice had a soft but confident tone, and his eyes shone with a spark of intelligence and humor. "The pleasure is ours," Benjamin responded, shaking her hand with respect and some curiosity. I, for my part, returned the greeting while observing my husband's reaction. Would he really be a good man for my mother-in-law? I was curious to find out. Dinner became an excellent opportunity to get to know Oliver better. It turned out that he had been quite successful in business, which immediately provided him with a free topic of conversation with Benjamin. Oliver, with his ability to tell stories and his business knowledge, seemed completely at ease in the conversation. Meanwhile, I began to notice something that threw me off slightly. Several times during dinner, I felt Oliver's gaze on me. At first, I thought it was just my imagination. But as the night progressed, those glances became more frequent. Every time I looked up, I found his eyes on me, often accompanied by a subtle but meaningful smile. Or even when I got up to go to the kitchen or take care of the children, I would notice eyes looking behind me. This made me nervous. Once dinner was over and the children were put to bed, we decided to have one last drink together on the terrace, taking advantage of the pleasant temperature of the night. Benjamin and his mother moved away a little, immersed in a more intimate and personal conversation, taking advantage of the time together after so many months of separation. So I stayed on the terrace, enjoying the night breeze, alone with Oliver. The stars were shining in the clear sky, and the dim light from the terrace created an intimate atmosphere. "How are things going with my mother-in-law? It seems like you've been very lucky to meet her. She's a great woman," I asked, looking to start a pleasant conversation. Oliver nodded with an affectionate smile. "Yes, I am very lucky. She is a wonderful woman, full of life and affection. I feel lucky to have her in my life," he responded. Then, to my surprise, he shifted the focus of the conversation to me. "And you? How are things going with your husband, Benjamin?" he asked, with a directness that caught me off guard. Before I could respond, he continued, "Sorry for being so direct, but I noticed you were somewhat quiet during dinner, even a little subdued. I barely know you yet, but what I am clear about is that a woman with a smile as beautiful as yours should show it more." His words surprised me, and I couldn't help but smile a little knowingly. His observation was quite bold for my taste, but strangely accurate. "Well, I guess we all have our days," I said, trying to downplay his comment, although deep down I knew there was some truth in his words. "That's true," Oliver agreed with a sympathetic look. "We all have moments when we feel a little lost, even when we're surrounded by people." The conversation drifted toward lighter topics, but Oliver's observations stayed with me. It made me think about how I had been feeling lately in my marriage and in my life in general. Oliver, with his simple comment, had managed to see something in me that I myself had been ignoring, although deep down, I knew it was true. The following days, Benjamin's actions seemed to confirm, in some way, the observations that Oliver had made the night before. Despite being on vacation, my husband spent much of the day absorbed in his phone, taking care of work matters. This bothered me a lot, but I tried not to show my frustration. Fortunately, I had the company of my mother-in-law and Oliver. My mother-in-law dedicated a lot of time to the children, enjoying every moment with her grandchildren, which left Oliver and me with plenty of time for ourselves. We began to get into the habit of going for walks together, taking advantage of the beautiful surroundings of the town. During our walks, Oliver shared stories from his life and some photos from his youth. He had great communication skills. He was a very captivating man who had the ability to disguise his words as seduction. What surprised me most was how he managed to make me feel part of those stories, as if somehow I had been there too. I began to notice that I really enjoyed his presence. He had a way of making me feel cared for and important, something that had been missing from my life for a long time. Their conversations were stimulating, and I found myself looking forward to those times of the day when we could share time together. One day, while we were taking a walk through the town, my attention was captured by a dress displayed in the window of a small store. It was a summer dress, light and a light blue color reminiscent of the sky on a clear day. It was spectacular. "Look at that spectacular dress, Oliver," I immediately exclaimed. "It's very pretty. You should try it on," Oliver responded with his usual smile, encouraging me to enter the store. Once inside, I went straight to the fitting room with the dress in hand. When I put it on, I felt amazed. The dress fit perfectly, highlighting my figure. The fabric was light and fresh, perfect for a summer afternoon. With the dress on, I left the fitting room to show it to Oliver. His eyes widened in amazement, and he smiled. "Wow, you're the most beautiful woman in the world right now," Oliver said, clearly impressed. His comment was direct and full of admiration. His words made me feel special, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. I looked in the mirror, seeing myself through Oliver's eyes, and I couldn't help but feel a different glow in myself. As absurd as it may seem, it had been a long time since they had made me such a nice comment. I began to see Oliver with different eyes, as a man who had the ability to make me feel special, desired, and beautiful. I wanted to experience that feeling of well-being with myself again. I began to more actively seek his company, wanting to catch his attention at every opportunity. Even though I knew it was a complicated and potentially dangerous situation, I couldn't help but want to feel loved by him. I even started subtly flirting with him. They were small gestures, long glances, knowing smiles, and slightly insinuating comments. Every time Oliver responded with a smile or a witty comment, I felt a tingle of excitement. Another night, after having made an excuse for our family, we met alone again. Something that was becoming more and more common among us. We were on the terrace, under a starry sky, when Oliver broke the silence. "Can I ask you an honest question?" he asked me in a soft but firm voice. "Yes, of course," I replied. "Are you starting to feel something strange and special between us two? Or am I the one going crazy?" His gaze was intense, searching my eyes for some sign of confirmation. Her question took me by surprise, but I knew it was time to be honest. "Yes, I'm sorry. It's confusing, but there's something..." My voice broke, unable to finish the sentence. Suddenly, I burst into tears, overwhelmed largely by guilt, and also by the loneliness that had led me to this situation. It was a release of emotions that I had suppressed for a long time. At that moment, Oliver approached and gently lifted my head to look me in the eyes. Then suddenly, he kissed me. It was a soft but passionate kiss, warm and loaded with a lot of feeling. Something we knew shouldn't have happened. When we separated, we both knew that things had changed irrevocably. There was no turning back. The reality of our lives and the complications of our family ties suddenly became very present. The day came when, once the vacation was over, we had to return to our house, to our real life. After that forbidden kiss with Oliver, we remained somewhat distant due to the complexity and implications of what we had done. But despite the distance, deep down, we both knew we felt the same. It was a strong, confusing, and, in a way, inevitable feeling. Back in the routine of my daily life, it was impossible for me to get Oliver out of my head. Every moment with my husband became a constant comparison to what I had experienced during that vacation. I began to hate Benjamin more and more because of his lack of affection and his lack of affection. A few weeks passed in this state of confusion and frustration, until one day I received news that changed everything. My mother-in-law called Benjamin to tell him something unexpected. Oliver had broken up with my mother-in-law. According to her, she had said that she no longer felt anything. That news made my heart skip a beat. On the one hand, I felt sad for my mother-in-law, who would no doubt be suffering from this breakup. On the other hand, I felt a kind of satisfaction and excitement at the possibility that Oliver had made that decision because of the feelings he had towards me. In the days that followed, I tried to focus on my daily life, but this news kept me restless and distracted. Should I make the same decision with Benjamin? A few days after receiving the news about the breakup, my phone vibrated with a message that I was looking forward to arriving. It was from July. "How are you? I need to talk to you alone. See you at the Los Angeles cafeteria tomorrow at 5. Reading your message, a rush of adrenaline ran through my body. However, along with that excitement, I felt fear and uncertainty. Getting through the night was difficult. I was torn between the desire to see him and the fear of the consequences of that meeting. What would it mean for my marriage? And what was happening with my mother-in-law's feelings? Despite everything, I knew I had to go to that meeting. He needed answers. He needed to know what Oliver really felt and what all this meant for both of them. I went to the meeting. My heart was beating a mile an hour. Seeing him before we could exchange a single word, Oliver quickly approached and grabbed me by the waist, initiating a passionate kiss. In that moment, all my fears and doubts vanished. I let myself be carried away by my desire, reciprocating the kiss with an intensity that reflected everything I had been repressing. When we finally broke apart, after a long, deep kiss, I knew what I had to do. Looking into his eyes, I said, "We have to leave town, Oliver. At least for a while. I need space to reflect on my marriage and everything that's happening." Oliver nodded, understanding the seriousness of the situation. "I'm with you on this," he said, his voice firm and determined. "Let's do what we need to do to find out what this all means for us." Finally, I made the difficult decision to confront Benjamin and tell him my problems and frustrations. With a heavy heart, I explained that I was exhausted, that I felt like our marriage had lost its way, and that I needed time alone. Although I omitted my romance with her father, the truth is that my need for space went beyond our clandestine relationship. It was also a reflection of my personal and marital dissatisfaction. Benjamin was surprised and hurt, which was understandable. There were tears and questions, but I remained firm in my decision. It was a necessary step, both for me and for our relationship, which clearly needed a deep re-evaluation. After the conversation, I escaped with Oliver to a small house near the beach, a secluded place where we could explore our feelings away from the gazes and judgments of others. It was a quiet refuge, with the sound of the waves and the sea breeze accompanying us. How will my story with Oliver end? I really don't know, but I don't care. I want to enjoy the moment and feel like a woman cared for and desired again. This is how my confession ends. I hope you liked it. If so, I ask you to like and subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories. Thank you very much, and many kisses for all.
Well, let me tell you about my life. I'm Margaret, 45 years old, divorced, and living in the hustle and bustle of the city. Life has its ups and downs, you know. I work a 9-to-5 job at a marketing firm, and it pays the bills. But it's not exactly the thrill of a lifetime. The highlight of my day is usually my evening routine, a glass of wine, some Netflix, and the company of my 2 cats, Mittens and Whiskers. Glamorous, right? Divorce hit me a couple of years ago, and it wasn't a walk in the park. My ex and I just grew apart, you know how it goes. 2 people changing and heading in different directions. After the split, I promised myself some me time. No rush, no drama. I needed it. But lately, I've been feeling this emptiness, this yearning for something more. I look in the mirror and see the wrinkles forming around my eyes, the grays sneaking into my hair. It's a reminder that time isn't slowing down, and neither should I and my friends keep pushing me to get back into the dating game. But honestly, I'm a bit rusty. Dating in your 40s is like navigating a maze blindfolded, challenging and, at times, downright comical. I've tried a few dating apps, swiped left and right, met a couple of decent folks. But it's tough out there. Everyone seems to be in a hurry, searching for that instant connection. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I miss the days when you could take your time, get to know someone over a cup of coffee, not just judge them by a profile pic. I've been on a few dates, some awkward, some surprisingly pleasant, yet none have sparked that fire. I can't shake off the feeling that time is slipping away, and I don't want to end up alone, surrounded by my cats and a TV remote. So here I am, juggling work, trying to navigate the dating scene, and wondering if there's someone out there looking for the same things as me. Life's a roller coaster, and I'm just holding on. hoping for that unexpected twist that makes it all worthwhile. So let me take you back to one of those Christmas nights. A bunch of us, the Divorced Ladies Club as we jokingly call ourselves, decided to escape the city chaos and gather at a cozy rural house. It's our annual retreat, a break from the solo holiday blues. You can imagine the scene: a crackling fireplace, the smell of pine, and a bit too much wine. We spent the day catching up, sharing stories, and laughing until our sides hurt. Most of us brought our own version of baggage, and it's oddly comforting to be surrounded by people who get it. The night rolled in, and the celebration continued. There's something about Christmas that makes you feel both melancholic and hopeful. One of my friends, Susan, brought along her 19-year-old son, Alex. He was a regular at our gatherings, the quiet observer in a room full of women with a knack for storytelling. But that night, something felt different. Maybe it was the way he looked at me, or perhaps it was the mix of emotions and alcohol playing tricks on my mind. As the night progressed, I couldn't shake off the feeling that Alex's attention lingered a bit longer, his smiles a touch warmer. At first, I dismissed it as a product of my imagination fueled by the holiday cheer, but the more the night unfolded, the more I sensed a shift in the atmosphere. We were all a bit tipsy, dancing to some classic tunes, when Alex asked me to join him outside for some fresh air. I hesitated, thinking it was just a friendly gesture. Yet, as we stood under the starry sky, the silence between us spoke volumes. He complimented me, saying things that went beyond the usual banter. I felt a tension, a connection that went beyond the boundaries of our usual camaraderie. The rational part of me chalked it up to the festive spirit and alcohol-induced misratings. Yet there was a subtle intensity in his gaze that made me question if I was imagining it all. We rejoined the party, and I tried to shake off the strange undercurrent. The night carried on, but there was a newfound awareness between Alex and me. I couldn't help but wonder if the holiday magic had woven an unexpected twist into our lives. What was unfolding between us was uncertain, and the curiosity lingered as the clock struck midnight, marking the end of that memorable Christmas night. The Christmas night had reached its end, and our little group dispersed to their respective rooms, bidding each other good night with hugs and laughter. I found myself in my room, still buzzing from the festivities and the wine. Lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, I replayed the events of the night in my mind. The laughter, the music, and that lingering connection with Alex. It all felt like a blur. The room swayed a bit, a mix of exhaustion and the last drops of wine doing their job. As I lay there, the door creaked open, casting a sliver of light into the room. My senses sharpened, and in the dim glow, I could make out the silhouette of Alex. He stepped in cautiously, the door closing softly behind him. "What are you doing here?" I mumbled, a mix of surprise and confusion clouding my thoughts. He didn't answer immediately, his eyes searching mine. The air was charged with unspoken words, the weight of the moment palpable. Before I could react, he took a step closer, and the gap between us vanished. The room felt smaller, the air thicker, as he leaned in. Time seemed to stretch, and in that suspended moment, I felt a rush of conflicting emotions. The rational part of me screamed caution, reminding me of the unspoken boundaries we were about to cross. After a few moments of shock, and with the lingering effects of alcohol, I felt a need to break the silence. The determined silhouette of Alex approached my bed, a blend of nervousness and excitement coursing through me at the anticipation of what might unfold. In a haze of uncertainty and desire, I decided to speak, the words stumbling out in an attempt to make sense of the unspoken tension. As Alex drew closer, the air crackled with an electrifying energy, and in a sudden rush of vulnerability, I let go of inhibitions, allowing him to bridge the distance. He leaned in, and the room became a canvas for a clandestine connection. It was an exploration of the unknown, a dance between heartbeats synchronized by unspoken desires. His touch was both gentle and assertive, his lips leaving a trail of sensations that awakened dormant cravings. In an impulsive moment, I surrendered to the intoxicating mixture of longing and curiosity. Alex's presence enveloped me like a tempest, and in that storm of emotions, I led him into the sanctuary of my bed. Describing the details becomes a delicate dance of words, a ballet of emotions. It was an encounter that transcended the ordinary, an intimate ballet where actions spoke louder than words. The room became a cocoon, shielding us from the world outside, and for those stolen moments, everything else ceased to exist. Alex orchestrated a symphony of sensations, a masterpiece crafted in the secrecy of that Christmas night. The encounter was surreal, a whispered promise of something beyond the confines of our everyday lives. As I lay there, entangled in the aftermath, the room held the echo of our shared secrets, a melody that lingered long after the night had embraced its quiet finale. The night blurred into a haze, and I wasn't even conscious of when I finally succumbed to sleep. The morning arrived with a mix of discomfort and uncertainty. As I reluctantly opened my eyes, the realization hit that Alex was no longer there beside me. A sigh of relief escaped my lips, but it was quickly overshadowed by a wave of anxiety of the events of the previous night. Disoriented and nursing a headache, I grappled with the aftermath. What had transpired in the dim-lit room felt like a distant dream, a secret woven into the fabric of that Christmas night. My thoughts spiraled, wondering about the potential repercussions. As I surveyed the room, the absence of Alex brought both a sense of calm and a gnawing unease. The implications of our impulsive encounter weighed heavily on my mind. What if his mother found out? What if my friends, my confidants, learned about this unexpected twist? The day unfolded with a subtle tension in the air. We were packing up, ready to leave the rural retreat. Conversations felt strained, laughter forced. Alex, on the other hand, seemed unfazed, as if the night had left no imprint on him. I couldn't shake off the discomfort, the lingering questions, as we navigated the awkwardness of our last moments together. The thought of facing his mother and my friends cast a shadow over what had once been a refuge of camaraderie. As we bid farewell to the countryside escape, I couldn't escape the nagging worry about the repercussions of that impulsive Christmas night, a secret that threatened to unravel in the light of day. Weeks passed, and the residue of that Christmas night clung to my thoughts like a persistent whisper. I found myself caught in a loop of conflicting emotions, those stolen moments with Alex replaying in my mind, eliciting a warmth that betrayed the rational part of me that knew better. He was my friend's son, just 19, and I was navigating the murky waters of desire and propriety. The memories lingered, and I couldn't escape the heat that surged through me every time I recalled the touch of his lips and the intensity of that clandestine connection. It was a storm I hadn't weathered in years, and the turbulence left me grappling with an unfamiliar terrain of longing and uncertainty. Then, one afternoon, as I went about my routine, my phone chimed with a notification. It was a message from Alex, casual yet tinged with a subtle invitation to dinner. The words danced on the screen, awakening a dormant anticipation that had been buried beneath layers of hesitation. In the face of that invitation, I hesitated, torn between the memories of that unforgettable night and the reality of the circumstances. I battled with indecision, questioning the consequences, the judgment, and the complexities that lay ahead. But in the end, the allure of the past proved stronger than the weight of reason. With a mix of trepidation and anticipation, I accepted the invitation, surrendering to the undeniable pull of desire and curiosity. It was a journey into the unknown, a continuation of a story that had begun in the shadows of a Christmas night, and I couldn't deny the thrill that accompanied the prospect of what lay ahead. The night with Alex unfolded like a chapter from a long-forgotten book, one I hadn't revisited in over 2 decades. His charm led us from an intimate dinner at a secluded city spot to a hotel, where the allure of the moment became irresistible. It suffices to say that the night with Alex was a symphony of emotions. The air was charged with an intoxicating blend of desire and passion, creating a memory that etched itself into the recesses of my mind. It was a night of rediscovery, a journey into a realm untouched for years. As the hours passed, the encounter marked by Alex's persuasive words and confidence during the act became a dance of connection and longing. The evening left an indelible mark on my soul, a reminder of the potency of desire and the unpredictability of life. In the aftermath, as the city lights painted patterns on the window, I lay there, enveloped in a sense of vulnerability and satisfaction. It was a night of awakening, a clandestine affair that whispered promises of passion long buried. The echoes of that unforgettable encounter lingered, leaving me to navigate the complex aftermath of emotions that followed. In the following months, those clandestine rendezvous with Alex became a secret dance between sin and exhilaration. The allure of his youthful vigor, mixed with the thrill of secrecy, drew us together time and again. It was a captivating yet perilous journey, where every stolen moment heightened the intensity of our connection. As the emotional ties between us deepened, I found myself entangled in a web of conflicting emotions. The age gap, the clandestine nature of our encounters, and the ever-present fear of the consequences painted our relationship with shades of exhilaration and guilt. There were moments when I questioned the sanity of what we were doing, aware of the potential fallout and the betrayal to a dear friend, his mother. Yet the magnetic pull of desire and connection kept drawing us back, blurring the lines between reason and longing. The emotional bond with Alex was strengthening, making it increasingly challenging to resist the gravitational pull that bound us together. And then, one unexpected day, the trajectory of our clandestine affair took an unforeseen turn. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them, and in a twist of fate, a revelation occurred that would alter the course of our destinies, forcing us to confront the consequences of our hidden liaison. The delicate balance we had maintained teetered on the edge, and the consequences of our actions loomed like a storm waiting to break. The next chapter holds the key to the unraveling secrets and the fates entwined in this clandestine dance. Will our connection withstand the tempest that approaches, or will the repercussions be too great to bear? Stay tuned for the final and most riveting chapter, where the tapestry of desire and consequence converges in an unexpected climax. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to ensure you don't miss the captivating conclusion that will leave no one indifferent. The twists and turns awaiting will keep you on the edge of your seat, eager to discover the fate that awaits our protagonists.